let's get into the nitty gritty of this one, sir. Where everybody's looking forward to this. So let me just ask you about the difference between Duke then and Duke now.
Well, I would say the offense has probably found a bit of a new gear the last couple of weeks. You've got Tyrese Proctor back. He's playing well. One of the things that is new and is less good is Caleb Foster is hurt, and he's one of the probably 5 or 6 best rookies in the league and a top 5 to 6 player for Duke this year, and so not potentially not having him is meaningful. I would also say just like finding a more optimized Mark Mitchell. I think sort of by early February when they last met, he was already kind of rounding a corner.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think he's played so well. You can see the confidence. Like he's been able to hit some standstill jumpers. Duke can use him as another guy to play make. They can use him as another screen setter. You're hitting his defense. And then I guess the other thing that's probably worth mentioning is Sean Stewart's taken on a much bigger role.
Yes.
And I don't know, what that will look like for him in this matchup. It can be kind of tough to figure, but he just had the best game of his career against NC State, career number of minutes. They've even dabbled some playing Filipowski, Stewart, and Mitchell together in some of these lineups or with TJ Power at like the 3 is Duke's probably playing with maybe a little bit more positional size and slightly fewer 3-guard setups. But I think Stewart, his athleticism, the above the rim component, his versatility defensively, and his hustle.
Yeah.
Duke has I kind of wonder if like Stewart is like sort of like the next leader on the rise there. Just kind of given his commitment, his energy, and also his talent. Like he's really, really, really interesting young player.
Ryan Geisinger is joining us here. I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to dig into that just a little bit, and then I want to get to a couple of other things, and then Carolina. Stewart gives them an athlete who can guard inside. He tried his best against DJ Burns. I mean, he did as well as you could. He pulled the chair on him once.
Love that. I love that. He forced a couple turnovers in that game by just again, he's this amazing athlete. But he was going into the bag of tricks and just, fronting the post and got some turnovers that way. He pulled the chair one time on Burns too.
Right.
And look, I mean, one-on-one, DJ's a very good low post player and has, a weight advantage on him. And Duke was committed to the let Burns beat us defense. Right. And by the way, it worked out, quite well for them. But so I think Stewart's impact everywhere else has been meaningful, and he played great against State the other night.
Where does he fit in matchups against Carolina? Because Carolina's a lot more dynamic than NC State is offensively.
Yeah, to say the least. Although, and I also thought Duke did a great job really limiting DJ Horn and really committing resources sort of in a different way, but similar to how UNC did the other week against DJ Horn and NC State too. I mean, we'll see. Like when they played, when these two teams played a couple of weeks ago, or I guess a month ago, you saw Duke doubling the post a decent amount against Baycott, and they tried to help off of Elliot Cadeau. And actually, I thought had some success. Cadeau's this really, really good young player, but he's not much of a shooter at this point. And so I thought UNC did a good job by turning Elliot Cadeau into a flare screener, like the way Duke would use Mark Mitchell, right? Mm-hmm. Or the way that NC State would use Greg Gant last season. Well, if you're not gonna guard that guy when he's 25 feet out, we're gonna get that guy to start setting off-ball screens for RJ Davis, and then when RJ Davis comes off those screens, he's gonna be open for Armando Baycott to kick it out from the post or skip it from the post. So who knows? Maybe you can use Stewart as somewhat of a matchup piece if you do feel like you've got a double. RJ, can the double teams come from Sean Stewart, or is he out there flying around, trying to help you in those scramble situations on the backside of the play? So I'll be curious to see how that looks. And when UNC gets into lineups that don't have, Harrison Ingram at the 4, they've got Jalen Withers out there.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you can even let Stewart, roam around a little bit. I don't see him spending a ton of time on Baycott. But if Stewart does play in this game, there's a chance he's going to be switched out onto RJ Davis. There's a chance for him to work as a helper. There's a chance for him to just sort of do a lot. And then obviously his work on the glass on both sides is pretty crucial for Duke in the minutes he plays. I mean, I could also see him playing, 5 minutes in this game too, depending on just sort of how things shake out.
Yeah,
Like
I kind of hope he won't.
I know, me too. I mean, I think his athleticism is super important for them. It's just
Yeah.
his role at this point hasn't like stabilized yet. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I thought going into the state game, I was wondering if we were starting to see an emergence of Sean Stewart, really ahead of Ryan Young as part of the rotation, especially with the Caleb Foster injury and what that means for Duke going forward. I think that level of athleticism, the offensive rebounding ability, because Duke has become last few games really good, excellent on the offensive glass. It's really how they've beaten soundly Virginia and NC State.
When Stewart is on the court, they've rebounded 45% of their missed shots this year. 45% offensive rebound rate with Sean Stewart on the court.
Okay,
Duke this season.
There you go.
Pretty good.
That's why Brian Geisinger is on this flipping show. All right, let me get to. We could spend all day talking about the different players and what their impact is. We know how good Jared McCain is. I thought he was Duke's best player in the game in Chapel Hill. But I want to get to Carolina because Harrison Ingram is such a difference maker in so many ways, and I think he's built for games like this. He's built for moments like this. Maybe he didn't even realize it when he was at Stanford for all those years. But he's coming off. I mean, he's played so well all year. He had a great game against Duke over in Chapel Hill. His thoughts on Harrison Ingram? There's so many silly questions I could ask, but I'll just leave the canvas blank for you on Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not forget, or let's remind ourselves, he was a part of the USA FIBA U19 team in 2021 that beat Victor Wembanyama in France in the title game. And
wow.
As seeing Wembanyama transition to the NBA, that's looking more and more impressive
Yeah.
by the Americans and Kenneth Lofton, the national hero after that matchup. But no, I mean, Ingram has been a big time player. He was just sort of, I wouldn't even say toiling away because like Stanford they've been like fine, and Jared Haas
Right.
I think is a pretty good coach, and we've even seen Michael O'Connell come east and make an impact at NC State after playing with Ingram at Stanford. But I mean, his size, his versatility, the 6'7", 200 whatever pounds, he's probably shot a little bit above his head this season, but
Right.
he gets open looks playing off of RJ and Armando Bacot, and Hubert Davis has a lot of creative ways to help get him open. But a guy like that who could facilitate in the post or in the pick and roll, he can spot up on the wing, and he can just do like scavenge points too, putbacks, transition, cuts. Just a really, really, really versatile offensive player that you can either play off the ball or run the offense through him. And because he can scale up or down positionally, you can play him at the 3, play him at the 4. There's just so many different ways you can use him. So yeah, he's perfect for games like this. He'll be huge for them come postseason time too.
You mentioned Elliot Cadeau earlier. Brian Geisinger is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at bgeis_bird. On the low, I thought he was one of Carolina's 3 best players because of just plays that were made by him that really impacted, either thwarted a Duke little bit of a rally or just created more separation. Drives. He didn't really score a lot of points. He didn't have a lot of assists. I just thought he made big plays when they needed. And he's had a very good season in every way, except you could probably look at the stats and go, yeah, he's not that good, but he is. What are your thoughts on Cadeau as we are now at the end of his first regular season?
Yeah, I think he's a really awesome young player. And I kind of agree with you that his impact was like you had to watch the game to sort of, I think, get it. But 7 free throw attempts is not nothing in a game that, like you said, UNC controlled it. But getting to the line 7 times was big in that game, considering how Duke was guarding him. As we were sort of discussing, they're playing off of him. They're and all of a sudden UNC starts turning him into a screener. And I also liked on some of those possessions, there was at least one I'm thinking of when Bacot was posted, they were playing off of Cadeau. He skipped it to Cadeau on the left wing, where the ball got worked around to Cadeau. And instead of he missed a couple of threes. I think he was in that he missed. I think he missed all of his threes in this game. But instead of settling for another catch and shoot, he attacked the
Yeah.
space, and he's got enough like north south burst, and he's such a creative passer. He's maybe the most creative passer in the entire ACC. Like he's really good. And I liked him being aggressive and trying to chew up the space as opposed to just settling into spot up threes, which he's not going to make. He's not going to make a ton of. Down the road, that's let's see next season what that looks like. Another year of player dev. Hopefully he comes back as a better shooter. But the passing is really, really special. The open floor handle, his ability to run. He runs the secondary break like a veteran.
Yeah.
He allows RJ Davis to get off the ball and float around and hit shots. And RJ is such an incredible shooter off the catch. Cadeau just has sort of like cascading value all over the court. And I thought in a really, in a competitive game against a really good team and in a rival in Duke, his ability to take on like kind of a weird role to set flare screens. It's probably like not what he envisioned coming to UNC, but like that's what they needed to like get the job done,
right.
And salute to him for doing that. He created at least one open three for RJ Davis, and I'm thinking maybe more than that actually. So no, I thought Cadeau was key. He'll have to have a huge game for them tomorrow. But maybe it's tough to picture like what that role will look like, because my guess is Duke doesn't roll out the exact same game plan as 5 weeks ago.
No, I think Duke's a different team.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I remember from his from the quotes that I read when he reclassified that he was reclassifying to set flare screens at Carolina. I think that was exactly what he pointed to. He couldn't wait to do it. I
can't wait to see pin downs for Cormac Ryan. It's going to be sweet. Yeah.
Brian Geisinger. All right, real quick before we let you go, a matchup you are looking at, player on player, from your point of view, assuming we'll get it.
Yeah, I mean, all the matchups across the board are so juicy. And we'll see, like, but Duke switches a lot defensively, and they'll even switch Kyle Filipowski out. So it's even hard to say sort of like Flip, Baycott, Davis, Roach, even if there are these like really sort of like juicy parallels. And we should also just like real quickly salute to Jeremy Roach. I mean, I guess tomorrow has a good chance of, or is likely his last game for him at home game at Duke, and what a career it's been. And a guy that should be all ACC, maybe not first team, but should be all ACC this year. So just wanted to give a salute to him. And but yeah, matchup wise, I think I'll be curious to see like what Mark Mitchell does in this game, both offensively, like how UNC guards him, how he attacks that concept, and just like where he can be impactful as a help defender. So I think sort of just like Mitchell's like two-way role in this game is the thing I'm probably most intrigued by. Obviously, like the Filipowski Baycott one is really appealing as well.
All right, finally, and we're not even going to get to the first team All ACC. Roach is on my first team for what it's worth. Element you think will decide the outcome of this game?
I'm going to say 3-point shooting in this one, just like in terms of really in terms of volume and like what those shots look like. Kind of think the team that is able to generate the best, reliable looks from deep. What that's going to mean, that means they're touching the paint, which also means they're getting to the line. But I'm just going to be looking at that as an indicator. I'll be keeping an eye on. UNC got up a couple more threes than Duke in the last one. They made a few more. And just sort of like that to me feels like a barometer for how Duke is defending RJ Davis, or how RJ Davis is able to like shake free. And same on the flip side, Jared McCain, his shooting, such an indicator and a confidence booster for Duke. So I don't know. I think I'll be curious to see that like team wide on both sides, but sort of like drilling down to those two players specifically.
Brian Geisinger, you are the best, man. 24/7 Sports, Buzzbeat podcast everywhere. Follow him on Twitter at @bguys_bird. My man, I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Take it easy.
He's the best. Look, we have one-timers coming up on the other side. Seriously, one-timers coming up on the other side. Q&A. I got to tell you a quick story about Brian Geisinger, whether it's next segment or the one after. I kid you not.
I'm excited.
Brian is like He's got an advanced basketball brain.
Well, he is from the Triad like myself. So
yes, he is.
maybe
Although
it's
he's
in
a
the
Wake
water.
fan. I can't figure that out.